The views and opinions of the guests on the Wyleaner Show are those of the guests and are not necessarily the views and opinions of the hostess Wyleaner and or her co-host.
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? What's up, guys? What's up, guys? How's everybody doing out there today? How y'all doing? It's about that time once again. Yes, indeed, it's about that time. I'm excited to be back with y'all again today. Greetings to everyone. Y'all know who I am. I'm Juanita, the Las Vegas Queen of Gospel, and y'all know what show this is. This is the Juanita Show, and this is where the rubber meets the road. And I just want to welcome everybody back. I want to welcome all of my fans back from Facebook and Twitter, and listeners and viewers who are out there listening on Spreaker and Tumblr, and who's watching on YouTube and LinkedIn, folks, and everybody who is out there tuning in to the Wyleaner Show, and those of you who are watching out there on WyleanerTVShow.com. Thank you so much for joining in with us again today. And y'all know what I always do. I always give you that second disclaimer. This is a very serious show. This is a hard-hitting show. And you may want to think long and hard to see if you can cope with the information that is about to be released here on this show. Just keep in mind, everyone, this is to educate you. The Wyleaner Show makes the rubber meet the road, and that means I bring it. Okay, and some of you may not be able to deal with it nor accept this information, but just keep in mind, it's just for you. It is your decision, not my decision for you. Okay, and today's topic today is part 2 and the final cut. The final cut for If You Believe There Is a Heaven, do you believe gay couples will be there too? What does the preacher say? What does the gay person say? And what do you say? I want you to know we are going to make the rubber meet the road back here again on part 2 with my 2 guests. But listen, before we go there, I really want to make sure that I want to make sure that you shoot me an email, if you will. Please shoot me an email at WyleanerTVShow@AOL.com, and with your topics and your suggestions and your questions and your comments, if you will. That'd be great. Okay, shoot me that email, and also friend me on Facebook. Okay, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And the phone lines will be open shortly. Okay, the phone lines will be open. And with that being said, you will be able to call in with your questions or your comments. And if you don't feel like calling in, that's okay too. Just sit back and listen and tune in to what these guys have to share with you about the topic today. And you heard what I said the topic was, and that is, if you believe there's a heaven, do you believe gay couples will be there too? What does the preacher say? what does the gay person say and what do you say? Okay, and that is the question. And so listen, if you call in and the line is busy, just hang up and call back again. And when you call in, make sure that you mute your speakers or walk away from your computer and give your question, your comment, or whatever it is, and then hang up and take your answer off the air. Okay, make sure you call in and talk to my guests with respect. Okay, remember, this is not the Jerry Springer show, okay? And you cannot call in here and be disrespectful, but you can call in and say, hey, I think you're wrong about that. I don't agree with you. I think you are wrong. Prove it. Prove what you are saying is true. Okay? And we have the right to agree to disagree right here on the Wiley Show, where the rubber meets the road. And so, listen, I have my guests back with me today. I have with me Richard Ruling of the Seventh-day Adventist Faith, and then I also have Mr. Joe Rollins, who is that of atheist. He is of no faith. Atheist it is. And and so I tell you what, we are excited. I'm excited to have both of these guys. Now, Dr. Ruling has been having a lot of technical difficulty. He's been having a lot of technical difficulty, and so we are trying to, make sure that he's on with us in a professional way here. So we don't know what's going on with him, but we'll see. So I want to first and foremost go ahead and introduce my first guest, who is Joe Rollins. Joe is that of the Atheist Faith, and Joe is with me again today, and he's not having any technical difficulties. And I'm glad of that. It looks to me as though the atheist guy is having more luck here with the Wally the show than the religious guy at this particular point. I don't know. I guess some people would probably say, well, the devil don't want him to say what he got to say. So anyway, it is what it is. And so listen here, I want to welcome back to the show Joe Rollins. Joe, how are you doing, and are you with me?
I'm doing well, Miss Weiliner. Thanks for having me. As you can see, technology agrees with atheism and science. That's how that usually works. No, I'm just joking. I mean, we had a lot of technical difficulties last week, and I was disappointed because I really wanted to hear what Dr. Ruling had to say. I am looking forward to hopefully having a conversation with him today. Got a lot of questions about his book that I've been reading over the course of the past week, and so we're going to make that rubber meet the road, Miss Weiliner.
Whoa! I tell you what, now you know you're trying to get on my good side. I don't know about too many atheists being on my good side, but you trying to bust a move right there. Because you call it like it is. The rubber is got to meet the road on the Wiley the Show. And I'm hoping that we do that again today. Okay, so now let's check with Dr. Ruling and see if his technical difficulties are out of the way. Dr. Ruling, we are looking to hear from you right now. And so are you with me, Dr. Ruling?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Dr. Ruling, we do hear you, and you are cutting out a bit, but we do hear you. How are you doing today? Speak to us, please.
Thank you. Good to be with you. Sorry for the problems. I think in retrospect, make a mistake in terms of unplugging something that didn't get plugged back in. But if you hear me now, that's good.
Okay, yes, we do hear you now, Dr. Ruling, and we're glad that you're with us. It looks like you do still have a little bit of a lag, but that's okay. We're going to have to work with it, okay, because the show is live right about now. We are live on the air. And so, Dr. Ruling, go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are. We already know about Joe, so can you tell us a little bit about who you are, please? Thank you.
Yes, upbringing. Attended a Bible college, at Loma Linda University, and have a Seventh-day Adventist background, but I am seeing our time is broader than just one denomination. I believe that God has honest people seeking to do the best they know in every denomination. It's not the majority necessarily. Christ said broad is the direction, but I believe that if we follow truth as we understand it, we'll get there together.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Rulin, for sharing that with us, and we are excited that we can at least hear you today, and that's a good thing. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take a quick break, and we're just gonna kind of give everybody a chance to loosen up and get ready. Because the rubber is going to meet the road around this camp in just a minute. And so I want to go ahead and give everybody an opportunity to loosen up and get ready for that to happen. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break right now. And when we come back, y'all know what's going to happen. The rubber is going to meet the road. We'll see you in a minute.
Hi, this is Wileen of the Las Vegas Queen of Gospel. First of all, I really do appreciate your listening and viewing my show every week. I would greatly appreciate your financial assistance as well to keep my show on the air. Please just make some type of contribution. $5, $10, $20, $50, $100 or more, whatever you desire. Please log on to www.wyleanertvshow.com and click the pay button. Or please send your check or money order to Wyleaner, that's spelled Wyleaner, to 420 North Nellis Boulevard, Suite A3, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89110. Also, if you would like to be a guest on the show, please call 702-242-2100 or email me at wyleanertvshow@aol.com. That's all for now. And thanks again for your continued support. Blessings to you too. And this is where the rubber meets the road.
Okay. Okay, everybody, thank you for watching that for us, and thank you for everything. So listen, I have my guests with me, and we are ready to get this party started. And let's see what we're going to do about making the rubber meet the road here today. Okay, so I have my questions lined up. Now listen, guys, the first question that I want to ask of you is that now last week, for those of you who tuned in last week, you know what we talked about, but I brought out a word to you guys last week, and I just want to see that I just want to see did anybody do any homework on the word arsenokoitai. Arsenokoitai. Did either one of you guys do any research on that word? What about you, Joe?
Sorry, had my mute on. I did look it up a little bit, but all I really found that was, well, what I found that was interesting was this controversy over the preacher who basically is making the argument that maybe the Bible doesn't really say about homosexuality what we have been led to believe because of a mistranslation of this word, which I believe was Greek, a Greek word in the New Testament. I personally, I think we could split hairs all day long about what different words mean in the Bible. The thing that's really important about the Bible, and the reason why even a lot of Christians have trouble with the Bible, is that this book really was not compiled the way that people presume that it was. You get this idea, this impression of this book that starts in with, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It goes all the way to the last words of the book of Revelation or Apocalypse. And that it all started with, Moses cracked open a book one day and went to the front page and said, okay, what's going to be the first words of this new book? And then wrote, in the beginning, and then it got all the way to John of Patmos writing, and that's it. That's all there was. And that just isn't the way that these books were compiled. They were written, most of them, well after the people whose names are included in these books would have lived. There's strong reason to doubt most of them did live. Many historians, I'm not going to go so far as to say most, but there's a strong historical opinion, for example, that Moses never existed, that Moses is as fictional as Noah or Adam, that the patriarchs didn't exist. That's a great way to make some friends, is to say that Abraham didn't exist, and certainly that Jesus or the apostles didn't exist. So to say, well, what did they mean when they used this particular word? Well, none of these people whose names are on these books actually wrote these books. They were written much later by people who undoubtedly were disciples of Christ in the case of the New Testaments, whatever that means in the early church, or who were Hebrew scholars, both in the case of the New Testament and the Old Testament. That certainly seems likely. But what did they actually mean with this word or that word, I think is really kind of splitting hairs, in my personal opinion.
All righty then, Mr. Joe Rollins of the Atheist Beliefs. We don't want to split no hair. Okay, so listen here. I'm going to go over here to Dr. Ruling, the Seventh-day Adventist, who is a believer in the Bible. And let's see what you have to say, Dr. Ruling, about the word that I left you with last week. Did you get an opportunity to do any research on that word? Coitai, which is, yes, indeed, Joe did, he was correct. It is a Greek word. So, Dr. Ruling, do you have anything on that word, please?
I have to give credit to Joe. I did not write the word down and later had trouble remembering what word that was that you wanted. But I would like to respond to something said, because Abraham Eber was found archaeologically. Muslims, Christians, Jews all look back to Abraham. If there's somebody that doubts Abraham's existence, just look at three major monotheological religions that all have him as the father of the faithful. And as far as Christ, Noah, from the days of Noah, fictional character? I don't think so. And Daniel, some people have seen everything so far in the future, but he lived in 606 to 538 when Medo Babylon. Daniel was taken captive by Babylon. So if he's recording what happened in Babylon, somehow it didn't happen long afterwards. Told came in 331. Hundreds of the Medes and Persians were conquered by Grecia. That's Daniel 8, verse 20 and 21. So Daniel describes the Roman Empire as the Iron Kingdom, legs of Daniel 2, and like the fourth beast in Daniel 7, with a little horn growing out of it that was the papacy, and did all the things, the description in Daniel 7, that spoke great words against the Most High, changed times and laws. Those are things that the Protestant reformers all agreed on. So, book. It's just that some people haven't read it very much.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Dr. Ruling. Okay. So listen, let's get moving here, guys. Okay. All right. So my next question would be, I also have heard someone say, now we're going back to our topic, okay? I also have heard someone say that in the Bible, God made Adam. Well, they didn't say this is in the Bible, but this is a Bible person that's speaking biblically, and they're saying that in the Bible, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So what is your response to that statement? Joe, what is your response to the statement that God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve?
No, he didn't. Didn't make anybody. There's no God. That's my opinion. I think that it's educated by the history and the science of human development. I mean, look, the Bible really doesn't record the expansive history just of the existence of Homo sapiens, which is our current, I mean, we are Homo sapiens sapiens, or wise man, if we do say so ourselves. By the time we get back to the early Bible, those are Homo sapiens or wise man. But that, we're talking about a species that have existed for millions upon millions of years before the Bible claims that Adam and Eve would have existed. Now, maybe there were human beings living on the earth, and while Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, wherever that is, Mormons say it's in Jackson County, Missouri, but a lot of people would disagree with that. we can go back and forth about this, but the point is that religion really tries to infuse into people's minds that there is a design, that there must be a purpose. And that's because people are looking for direction and purpose in their life for emotional reasons, not so much to actually know what historically happened, but because if you feel like your life is without direction, without purpose, it's very difficult to be happy. And so people look for it where they can find it. They look for it in therapy. They look for it in government, and arguing with their neighbors about politics, and arguing on Facebook or Twitter, And at the end of the day, in this desperate search for some kind of meaning, sometimes we accept things to be true that are arguably not true, just in order to have some kind of an answer. And I would make the argument that we really shouldn't be looking as to whether or not there was an Adam and Eve versus an Adam and Steve. Don't look into pasts that didn't happen for what is purposeful. You need to look into the present and see where we're moving as a species and where we're going as a species and as people. And if we have compassion towards other people, we have to consider that, whether or not God created this or that in this or that way, your direction in your life is better directed by what you are experiencing, or what we as a modern and a developed and intelligent species are experiencing. And so that would be my argument.
Okay, thank you for that, Joe Rollin of the Atheist. Let's see what our religious guy here at Venice has to say. Dr. Ruling, the question is, I've heard someone say that in the Bible, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. What is your comments on that, please?
Chapter of the Bible, Genesis 1, God made the animals, man, and said, be fruitful and multiply. And if they had made them Adam and Steve, there'd be no multiplication. It doesn't happen. So, and if they evolved, how at the same time they can even have any offspring? The Bible book, there are scientists that believe that way. It's just that the mainstream media wants to give the atheistic evolutionary scientists, but there are many that do credit sure. And I can give you an example. There's a Robert Gentry who discovered pleochroic halos. These are radioactive that have a half-life of an instant second in radioactive in granite down over thousands of years. If the, say we exploded off the sun, maybe millions of years for this Earth, and it's down, these little pleochroic halos would have disappeared because their half-life is only a split second. But it's like also in water, you have just a few seconds and there's the pleochroic halos, and they would be gone if there was an evolutionary process of years. But God spoke and it was done. Boom. And those halos are there. They there are Russian scientists that, because they're atheists, they don't know how or why, but it's a evidence of an instantaneous creation like God did.
Okay. All right, Dr. Ruling. Okay. So listen, do you feel that gay couples are to be treated the same, in the same respect as a husband and wife, meaning a man and a woman, Dr. Ruling?
Well, the government that way and give everybody the same advantages, etc. Bible times it wasn't that way, and God said in with mankind as was Leviticus 18 verse 22. Verse 25 says the land will steal you out, and happened to the Jews just like the other nations. Homosexuality is not new, but with God, he did not one, we have to say that, we see what in Scripture, so that evidence of the fire and brimstone. Ron Wyatt discovered the area where those cities used to be, probably. So I think my friend Joe has a wants to make.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I got your answer correct, Dr. Ruling, but I think that the answer was what? Just point dot blank. What was your answer? Point dot blank.
Point: God did not intended Adam and Eve.
Okay. Okay. My question was, should gay couples be treated with the same respect as men, as husbands and wives? Joe.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a moral question there that we can parse morals all that we want, because morality really is a subjective thing. I know that that's not a comfortable fact to live with. We want to believe that there's an objective morality, that there is something that is definitively wrong and something that's definitively right, and that all stems from what is the purpose of all this? What's the purpose of family? What's the purpose of gender? What's the purpose of sex? All of these are things that we can argue about, but because we have different values, we'll never come to agree on. But to address the question at hand as to what does the Bible say, in Dr. Ruling's book, which I told you I've been reading, he mentions specifically what he was going into there, that in ancient society, in Israelite society, which was an agrarian society, we are told, and that's probably, I think that's arguably true. It was that homosexuality was punishable by death, and that because people were afraid to die, they were more likely to repent. And it seems to me like there's an argument being made there, and it wouldn't be Dr. Ruling to be the first one to make that argument. This has been a long-standing belief among Christians and Jews, or especially Orthodox Jews, I mean, that even today, the government, Dr. Ruling says in his book that the government has to do what compassionate Christian people don't do. Compassionate Christian people, he says, have to be forgiving and loving of their neighbors. But the government has to lay down the law, and it needs to be God's law. Going by that standard, what he seems to imply without directly saying, and I would love to know if Dr. Ruling does believe this or not, is that a righteous American society would kill homosexuals and execute them. It seems to be, once upon a time, that was God's way. Now, a lot of Christians today believe that in the New Testament, in the New Covenant, Jesus brought in a new way of doing things, and that was more enlightened. And so I would like to know if Dr. Ruling believes that standard should apply.
Okay. All right. So listen, you guys don't ask each other questions. Okay. You can put your little thoughts out there, but don't ask no questions. Okay, but listen, this is what Joe, you sort of took me into my next question, and Dr. Ruling, I'm gonna have to let you chime in on the double question here. But my next question was, where did this all begin? It appears that there's nothing new under the sun, as they say. So there were apparently men loving men and women loving women in the Bible days as well. So what makes this such a big deal now? What makes it all such a big deal now? Considering, and Dr. Ruling, I'm coming to you with this, because Joe had quite a bit to say right there. So I'm coming to you. But Dr. Ruling, what I want you to do is I want you to just go ahead and chime in on what I'm saying right now. Where did this all begin? It appears that there's nothing new under the sun, as they say. There were apparently men loving men and women loving women in the Bible days as well. So what makes it such a big deal now, Dr. Ruling?
Well, I think it's because Christ, when asked about the end of the world, said it would be like the days of Noah, when God did send a flood, and all the actually it wasn't just men with men; it was men with animals as well. And so that God repented that He had made man almost, but He saved Noah and his sons and their wives. But you know, sin is sin, and it happened again at Sodom. Basically, you know, thousands of people and these different generations came along. Every nation has had the problem with it, but the issue was Sodom. They paraded it, and we have done that in this country as well. We have the gay parades. So I don't think that's very good. And Christ said it would be like that. The Sodom was the day it was destroyed. I think that times like Hawaii in the near future, where judgment things reserved to fire for the day of judgment, and so Hawaii is a good example of that. I think that we need to get back to God, and the moral part of it is clear point for people that want to believe it. The government does things irrespective of the law, but I think they should have an obligation to support. Not, you know, government has no duty to tell us how to worship the first half of the Decalogue, but respect for parents, don't kill, don't commit adultery. Those commandments, government should have laws to support and protect the marriage.
Okay.
The seventh commandment was to protect marriage, but the government is not doing anything like that. This land will spew us out. And actually, God said He will make a full end of He implies this nation as well, because when He said all other nations, He was not talking. He was talking about the chosen people that.
Okay. I'm not sure. You know, we're really we're struggling with you, Dr. Rudin. We're really struggling with you and your technical difficulties over there, because we're hearing bits and pieces of what you're saying. So you're going to have to make your answer short, because I'm not getting everything that you're saying, and it's taking too long to get your point across. Okay, so what I want to know from you is can you just narrow it down to me and tell me what makes it such a big deal now, seeing as how this has been going on all along? What makes it such a big deal now? Why is everybody making a big issue out of gay and all that? Can you narrow it down, Dr. Rowland, please?
Only been in the past couple decades that we've had such moral slides, and these are apocalyptic in nature. You know, if Christ like this at the end of time, we're at basically, that's what why it's a big deal. It's not centuries in this country.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna. I guess really I didn't bring that to you either, did I, Joe? Maybe I'm trying to skip you. Joe, no, I'm not, man. I'm not trying to skip you, man. All right, Joe. What makes it such a big deal now, considering, like I said, my question is where did this all begin? It appears that there's nothing new under the sun, as they say.
Right.
So there were apparently men loving men and women loving women, and in the Bible days as well. So what makes it such a big deal now? And of course, with Dr. Ruling, also added that there was bestiality going on in those days as well. So go ahead, Joe. Can you chime in on that for me, please?
Sure. Look, I mean, I think that's exactly the point. I mean, there were men loving men and women loving women, as far as we are aware, throughout the history of the species, which goes back a lot further than just, like I said before, than just what the Bible seems to indicate, with some 6,000 to 10,000 years of existence. Well, at least the young Earth philosophy interpretation of creationism. But I think that this goes straight to your point of the show, Ms. Weiliner, about, is there a heaven? Is there a hell? I say there isn't. But and would gay couples be in heaven in the event that there was a heaven? And my point is that the closest thing we have to hell is here on earth. When during the Bible times, as Dr. Ruling pointed out in his book, and as he mentioned here today, they killed people for being gay. Does that make people, is that going to bring happiness to people to be afraid to and afraid for their lives? It seems that Dr. Ruling is saying that only in the past couple of decades in this country, of course, there's in Europe, it's been going on quite a bit, pretty much the same period of time, where the moral quality of the people has backslid so far that we start to respect homosexual relationships on par with heterosexual relationships. But there are societies today in this world where they throw gay people off of rooftops for being gay. And I would argue that's not a better society. That's not a society that has greater moral righteous standards, even though it would seem to fall more in line with what the Quran teaches, and it falls more in line with what the Bible teaches. And so I would argue that to say that, well, now we have the society that has backslid morally to a point where we actually accept gay people and gay couples as deserving the same rights as straight couples, like myself and my wife, for example, is, I would say that the moral judgment of that is a little misplaced, because a society where people stone gay people to death, I would argue, is not a more moral society. Again, that's my subjective moral standard based on different values.
Okay, thank you for that, Joe. Listen, everybody, if you want to call in, you can. The phone line is open, 702-850-5580. That's 702-850-5580. If you feel like calling in, you can. It's okay. If not, it's okay. Okay, so listen, I gotta ask this question here. If it's okay and it's all good, and everybody should look at this situation with gay couples as there's no issue here whatsoever, then how do you explain the body parts of two men? It is said that it creates diseases such as AIDS. So what is your comment on that? I'm gonna still go back to Joe, and then I'll end that question with Dr. Ruling. But if it's all good and it's okay, and everybody should just accept it and go on and don't worry about it, then why is it that it appears that men's two body parts create disease? And this is killer disease, which it appears to me as though AIDS is the main disease, unless there's other diseases that I don't even know about, sexually transmitted. But it appears that this particular disease is in direct relation to men's two body parts. The two men, I don't mean the men's two body parts, but y'all know what I mean. The two men coming together in the wrong kind of way, so to speak. Joe, take that, would you please? And then I'm going to go to Dr. Ruling. Go ahead, Joe.
Sure. I mean, it's a quick point of order, and I only want to touch briefly on it, but that's not actually how AIDS comes about. It's been believed a long time that was how how AIDS spreads around. But AIDS is not created by men having sex with men. AIDS is the result of a virus, and that virus is easily communicable between men and women. It's communicable between mothers and their babies. That's why there are a lot of babies that are born with who are born HIV positive and born with symptoms of AIDS. And it's fortunate that because of science, we are actually now seeing that there are treatments available where kids who are born with AIDS, supposedly they're not born gay, they're not being punished by God for being gay. I mean, maybe some people believe, I'm not maybe, many people do believe that these kids are being punished for the fact that their parents had sex with somebody who was gay, which doesn't seem to me like the effect of a loving God. But okay, maybe to someone it does. But now they have treatments where these kids grow up and don't have the same symptoms and can live long and fruitful and productive lives in spite of the fact that they still carry this virus. And it's very possible that within our lifetime, we will actually beat the HIV virus, and it will be a disease that we can cure, maybe even immunize against. And if that's the judgment of God, then is it possible for science to put God down and to destroy, and to not destroy, I would say, to thwart the work of God? So that would be my answer.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Joe. Let's go to Dr. Rulin. And Dr. Rulin, I hope we can understand what you're saying, because we've really been struggling with your audio today again. You heard my questions, and I really would like for you to bring this to the forefront from your teaching and your belief. First of all, I had two questions for you, and the one was, where did it all begin? It appears that there's always been men lovers of men, women lovers of women, and so forth and so on, and why is it such a big deal? And then, of course, I would like for you to explain the fact that it appears that AIDS is one of the diseases that is created by men being lovers of men. Dr. Rulin, go for it, please.
Person who's homosexual has 400 times the risk of AIDS compared to a heterosexual couple. So huge risk, and yet the government is encouraging be equal to do that. In other words, the government doesn't like. Now, if we are going to as Joe say, technology is going to overcome and put God down, then why hasn't it happened with cholesterol? Cholesterol is the process. I had cardiology training, and if we were so good on evolution, why hasn't the body learned? But the truth is, the best physicians in the country are plant-based diet. Whole foods, plant-based diet, Dr. Nutrition from Cornell University, and numerous others. So you can go on YouTube and search it for plant-based diet. The MDs are excellent with it, as well as others. What God made, and they said in the beginning on the first true about what we should eat and how we should, male and female, be fruitful and multiply. Basics come from the first page of the Bible. If we don't want to go there, it may not end well.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rulin. This is a rough show, y'all, because Dr. Rulin, your audio is just so bad, and so we really, people are sending me messages even right now saying they're having a hard time listening because of your audio. Okay, so what about people that just simply say, I was born a man, but I feel like a woman inside, or vice versa? Joe?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that question. I love many people in my life of various backgrounds and gender expressions, including transgender people. All of our lives, I think for most of us, we've believed that there are two genders. In fact, there are many, because you have to account for different varieties of intersex genders. Now, I understand that most people identify with the sexual identity that is manifest in their anatomy, and particularly in their chromosomes. But we have to understand that if we use expressions like only, there are only two genders, that means that there is nary a case where there is one person, one baby born anywhere, where their gender doesn't agree between their anatomy and their chromosomes. And that's not true. It's actually more common than people think. where you have a baby who's born with these chromosomes for what we traditionally understand for female, but their anatomy looks like a male, and vice versa, male chromosomes and female anatomy. And how are we to identify these people? There are cases, for example, and I'll try to make this a brief example. You have a daughter, she grows up, she looks like a daughter, she develops a puberty like daughters do, the normal thing and everything, but then she doesn't begin her menstruation the same as other girls do. At a certain point, you get concerned, so you take her to the doctor. And then he does a couple of tests and comes back to tell you, technically, your daughter's a boy. Now, she seems to be developing otherwise, but anatomically, she is different than other girls generally. So if there is one case, all right, Miss Wyliner, I'll drop it. But if it's the case that there are only two genders, it doesn't account for every person born. So we have to have a standard where we say there is such a thing as expression of gender.
Okay. You're getting ahead of me. I want you guys to answer my questions just like I give it to you. You're getting ahead of me. Oh my God. I might as well not have my questions lined up because y'all just go right on and y'all be all into my next question and my next question and my next question. Anyway. Joe, you just ran amok on me right there, man. It's all good though. I understand. This is just one of those things. You really want to try to get your point out there, and I totally got you. I got you. But I got questions. Okay. So listen, Dr. Ruling, oh God, this guy Joe just took me somewhere, and that was like way down there. Anyway, so I'm gonna skip that because I don't want to go any further on that question. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Do you feel, Dr. Ruling, that being gay is a mental problem? Please answer my question just like I asked. Please don't go way away from me. Do you think that being gay is a mental problem, Dr. Ruling?
I think that depends on how you define mental. I believe that a boy can have no dad in the home, and he may get confused about what he is, or a woman could get confused the same way, just depending on the way the home life is. But I don't think illness per se. I think that and as they get involved with someone else, they just gravitate toward the body senses, and they don't have the responsibilities to take care of a fella. It doesn't have the same responsibility toward another fellow as he would to a woman, and he doesn't have to provide for her, or would have to provide for her.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, all right, that's good. Joe, I'm not even gonna ask you that question, man, because you said me to run amok on me again. Oh, okay. So listen, I saw this somewhere, and somebody says, this is a person talking, and they says, will being gay send me to hell? I believe in Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I desperately want to please him and do his will. At the same time, I know that I am homosexual. I believe I was born this way and that nothing will change it. Does this mean that I am condemned for eternity, Dr. Ruling? Question is for you.
We are all born, and if they say they were born homosexual, that would go along with it. The issue is that we have to somehow repent and do the best we know. And in my perspective, there are nuns who've never had sex. Sexual person would have to say, I can't go there. I don't believe that's God's plan, but I do believe just as the body heals itself physically, they don't live with the same wishing and wanting to that someone else does.
Okay. Okay. I want to apologize to my viewers. I have got to do this. I have got to apologize to my viewers. Because I know everybody, you out there watching, and you're probably getting a little frazzled and a little frustrated with the technical uh, uh, lagging and issue that's on Dr. Ruling's side, but I can't fix it. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody, but and I know it's hard because you want to hear what he has to say, but he's having some severe technical difficulties, and it's a big struggle for all of us to hear him. Okay, so just try to bear with us if you will. Uh, so anyway, uh, okay. So, Joe, I'm gonna give you the same question. Would you please comment on that? And Joe, don't make me have to chastise you again, man. Okay, go for it, Joe. If you know the question, go
Give me the
ahead.
question once more. I'm sorry. I got
Oh,
distracted there for a
okay,
second.
okay. All right. So what it is it's a statement by someone, and of course, you can just give your comments because you're not on the religious side. So, but anyway, the person is saying, "Will being gay send me to hell?" I believe in Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I desperately want to please Him and do His will. At the same time, I know that I am homosexual. I believe I was born this way and that nothing will ever change it. Does this mean that I am condemned for eternity? And Joe, I really can't say that your answer is. I mean, you know what? I wish somebody that's religious, quote unquote religious, would call into the show and respond to even that. It'd be great. 702-850-5580. Help us, Sister Al. 702-850-5580 with that particular statement. This is a person that feels that they love Jesus with all their heart, and they want to do what Jesus says do, but they're looking at, okay, I'm a homosexual. So does this mean I'm going to be condemned to hell because I'm a homosexual? And Joe, I know you don't believe biblically, so it's kind of hard to even ask you your thoughts on that, but go ahead.
I understand. The struggle is real, Miss Weiliner. The
Yeah.
answer would be yes, according to the Bible. If you either have to live a completely celibate life, or even worse, compel yourself into a relationship with a person of the opposite gender with whom you don't have a fulfilling romantic and sexual relationship, or at least just to try and do what God commands you to do, or to be celibate for all your life, which is about as close to hell as I can imagine for a person. But fortunately, there is no God, and so the answer would be no. That would be my answer, obviously, as the atheist. And I kept that answer short, Miss Weiliner.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. You don't have to get too many tongue lashes from the Queen of Gospel. I can clearly tell that. Okay, so yeah, so listen, another person says, why can't a gay person be one of God's people too? If they say they love Jesus but still want to continue in their relationships. Let's try Dr. Ruling again. This is a struggle with us, Dr. Ruling, today because of your technical difficulties, and the viewers are not too pleased. So listen, let's try it one more time, Dr. Ruling. The gay person is saying, why can't a gay person be one of God's people too? If they say they love Jesus but still want to continue in their relationship, Dr. Ruling.
7 verse 22, many are going, Lord, I do works in your name, and he will say, I never knew you. So even Christians that it's not a, still could be problems. The real knowing God in a personal way, deeper way than just superficial. We cannot claim, oh, Jesus is going to save me, Jesus is going to save me. We have to do what he says.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it, people, on the religious side and on the atheist side too. So, what makes the homosexual so much sin? Uh, because I mean, how do you figure it? Is it a sin? I mean, it is stated that sin is sin. So, what gives you Christians the right to single out the gay person? Isn't sin sin? Is there a big sin and a little sin, or what's the big deal of this gay person being singled out? Dr. Rowling, let's try you again.
Well, any that we cherish and are unwilling to give up can keep us out of heaven. It might be, it can be appetite, it can be passion, like we're talking about here. It can be something else. We want to be completely the gods, and we want to give our lives to him and make a complete surrender where he is really Lord of our lives. We seek to serve him. And I think that's what he's looking for, not just people who come on Saturday or Sunday or Monday or Friday. It's a whole life situation, and if he's Lord of our life, we seek to serve him. That's what I think he's looking for.
Okay. Okay. Uh, so can a gay person hold an office in the church of your denomination, Dr. Rowling?
I hope not. I mean, I don't think that that's the case. You know, I have lately, but the bottom line is that I think we should go by the book and not necessarily by the politics. Down on churches, and it's getting to be trouble, and some of them are compromising.
So you don't believe that you don't feel that a gay person should be allowed to hold any type of office under the auspices of the church that you affiliated with or attend or whatever the case may be. Is that right, Dr. Rowling?
In Matthew 18, if you have something against someone, you should go
Hold the
to
line,
them
please.
and take one or two others and to the church, so that that person that's not conforming becomes like a heathen. You don't hate heathen people, you love them and try to win them to Christ. And I don't think we should treat gay people unkindly. I think we should treat them kindly, ultimately to save them, but to hold church off a thing.
Okay. Thanks for that, Dr. Rowling. Listen, callers, if you do want to call in, we're going over just a little bit today because we have one more thing that we're going to address. So we're going over just a little bit today. So the phone line is open at 702-850-5580. And we have a caller on the line right now. And let's see what the caller has to say. Hello, caller. You're live on the air. Will you state your name and where you're calling from, please?
Hello, my name is Eolis, and I'm from Las Vegas.
Hey, Las Vegas kicking in. I just love it when Las Vegas kick in. All right, Mr. Eolis. Can you please let me know what you got to say, man? Help a sister out today, because I'm struggling today. I tell you the truth.
Well, the one thing that I wanted to say that is there are all different types of sins, and it just so happens that today homosexuality is one of the main sins that's being thrown up into the forefront. It's being thrown at Christians basically because of laws that man has passed. Now, when we look at the laws that man has passed, we have to know that as Christians, we have to stand for biblical truths. We cannot stand by laws that man passes if we bow down to an idol, and they say no, they won't do it. Well, the thing is, we won't accept homosexuality as being something that God has ordained in marriage. When we look at sex itself, sex was not even made for a man and a woman. Sex was made for husband and wife. So when we look at it, we can't say that simply because two people feel that they should be involved in a sexual relationship, that right there is something that we can condone, especially when it's two people of the same gender. Okay, God says that he created people male and female. And when we look at biblical stance and we look in the New Testament, whenever Jesus is talking about marriage, he talks about a husband and a wife. He doesn't say a husband and a husband or a wife and a wife. He says husband and wife. So when we look at it, we have to look at it in a biblical perspective, and we have to understand that as we go through this journey, that we have to stand for biblical principles. And in the last day, we know that those are going to be attacked, and that is what is happening today.
Okay, so you said Eolus, right? Eolus?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm assuming, and I'm just taking for granted to assume that you're on the religious side, that you're a Bible believing person. Okay. So since you on the phone, I just want to ask you. You know, I ask my callers questions too. And so you heard, and you've been watching the show, and so you heard what I said earlier on about the person that says, will being gay send me to hell? I believe in Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I desperately want to please him and do his will. At the same time, I know that I am a homosexual. I believe I was born this way and that nothing will change it. Does this mean that I'm condemned for eternity? Well, what do you think about that?
It all depends on if this person gives in to the temptation, because the Bible says, blessed is the man who endures temptation, for when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Let no one say that he is tempted, or I am tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires. And then when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. So the thing is basically God is telling us that when we sin, it's something that is within ourselves. It's just like when Satan sinned in heaven. There was no sin in heaven, but Satan sat up here and started coming up with his own line of thinking. We all have free will. And the thing is, we have to understand as Christians, it's not our will, but God's will be done.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go. You know what I'm going to do? Y'all know how I do on the Wiley Show. When a rubber meets the road, I'm going to go to the atheist guy when you hang up the phone. And I'm going to let him chime in on what you just got done saying. Because I already got a feeling that Dr. Rulin is already in agreement with you. So, so caller, thank you so much for tuning in to the Wiley Show right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm gonna go to the atheist guy. You stay tuned. Don't you move a muscle. Let's see what the atheist guy got to say about what you just said. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Okay. All right, Joe. You got the flow, Joe. You got the flow, Joe. Go, Joe.
I got it back. Awesome. You know what? I'm gonna give you an even bigger surprise. I agree too. I agree 100% with the caller. That's exactly what the Bible says and what the Bible means to say. And if the God of the Bible is the God that really and truly actually exists, that would have to be the rule. That would have to be the standard. Unfortunately, that's not true. But that's, you know, those are different values and different mindsets from where we come from. A few weeks ago, we did a show, Miss Weiliner, where we were talking about you know, we need to be able to have more conversations like this between atheists and believers, and between people of different political stripes, without, you know, calling each other names and saying that, you know, you're amoral or you're stupid, or, you know, these are the things that we normally throw back and forth at each other, because morality is subjective, because morality is determined in our culture, in our society, by differing values, not by an objective standard, which would mean objective, and I'll end with this and make my comment short. Objective, meaning that it comes independent of human opinion, and subjective, meaning it results from human opinion. Our morality differences here are not based on an objective standard. If there were a God, they would be. But because there isn't, these are just different values from different upbringings and different cultures and different mindsets that come about depending upon who you are. So as far as are people who are gay, are they living, you know, are they sinners, you know, are, you know, what level did they actually commit a sin? In being tempted to have sex or relationships with other people of the same gender, or in acting on it? The Bible seems to indicate, and Jesus seems to indicate, it's in between. It's at that point where you start to look at other people with a lustful eye, and then you've actually committed a sin. And I would say, if that were the case, that would make for a lot of very unhappy and condemned gay people in the world. And I'm very grateful and glad that it's not true.
Well, okay. Okay, let's see. Dr. Ruley wants to chime in on this a little bit. And Dr. Ruley, Lord knows we want to hear from you, but your technical stuff is not working too good over there. But let's see what happens. Go ahead, Dr. Ruley.
Said that if there was a God, then it would be objective standard morally. And for those who are inclined to think that way, or those who have looked into Scripture, it's God. Even the fact that Christ, what his disciples ran, but after they saw him resurrected, they were all with him. I mean, this is only God can do that, you know. And I'm just saying, pretty strong for the reality of God. You can look at the stars, you can look anywhere you want, but intelligent design, it didn't happen by just chaos. You know, random stuff tends to disintegration. The second law of thermodynamics is the energy is running downhill in this universe, but we still have warm, and even too warm sometimes. But I say a lot of science supports God, and there is an objective standard. 10 Commandments.
Okay. I don't know. We lost. Boy, I tell you, we're struggling. This is a struggle show today, y'all. This is a struggle show. This is a struggle show. Anyway, thanks for that, Dr. Ruley. We don't know everything you said, but we got a lot of it. Okay, so listen, do either one of you guys know what the word intersex? I just want you to give me a yes or no, Dr. Ruley. What do you know what the word intersex means?
No.
Okay. Joe, do you know what the word intersex means?
Yes.
Okay. So, for those of you who are out there watching, we're gonna bring this to the forefront really quick here, and then we're about to go toward the end of the show. But we do have one more topic that we're gonna cover, which is Dr. Ruley's book, before we leave today. But listen, this is what I want to share with you guys about intersex. Okay, there are some people in this world who were literally born with both body parts, and some who are women born with men's parts inside, such as genitals in the place of ovaries, which cause them to be both male and female. There are also those who have female hormones and or male testosterone. These people are born this way. This is a birth defect. So how can you say that this type of person will go to hell if they were simply born with this defect? If it's a supposedly a female, but this female has male body parts, even though even though it is a female, or it's a male with missing parts that he should have had, which puts him in a category of being closer to a female, or he grows breasts or something to that effect. So, and this person chooses to be with, if it's a woman with male testosterone and all this kind of stuff, and then she chooses to be with another woman because of her body, the way her body is created, and it is a defect. How can you say that this person is going to go to hell? Or what do you say about that particular type of person? That is what's called intersex. Okay, this is a person that it used to be called I think morphodite or something to that effect, but now they call it intersex. Okay, and so this is a person that's born with a mixed up gender. You know, mixed up body parts. That's why I wanted you to be quiet, Joe, earlier. Okay. So anyway, I want you to chime in on that, Dr. Ruling, if you can, if we can understand you. I'd like to hear from you on that. And if we can't understand Dr. Ruling, I'd like it very much if some religious person out there somewhere would call in and talk to us on Dr. Ruling's behalf for the person that is born with these defects. I saw something on a show, on a talk show, and it was a young lady, and she had genitals. She had men's genitals. But she knew she was a female, but she had men's genitals, and so her body was not functioning like a woman's body's supposed to. And then I saw another woman that had men's, you know, uh, body parts, sexual organ. And she knew she was a woman, and everybody knew she was a woman, but her body wasn't built that way. And so she had to be with women because of how she was built. So what do you say about that particular person, Dr. Ruling?
The great majority of people, it's clear what they are. For a few anomalies, knows what, I think that's up to God. You know, why should we judge people in between? They're struggling. I'd say leave it to God. Why do we have? We're not. And I just say He knows the heart of everybody. The best we know, I think He understands that. And if we're really want to do our own thing, so I don't think that we have to be in the position of judge for anybody, really. I think let's leave it to between them and God.
Okay, so okay, so really now, no, I don't get that, because it looks to me as though now earlier on you were stating to me that it's a sin and that is wrong, and now you're saying leave it to God. So okay, which way are we supposed to go here on this? You understand what I mean? Well, I mean, wait a minute. Let me finish what I'm saying. Don't talk over me. I need you to tell me how we supposed to go. Which direction are we really supposed to go? You know, because now I'm talking to you about a person that was born this way. But then on the flip side of the coin, now you got all these folks out here that's homosexual or whatever the case may be. Now, how do you know that that particular person doesn't have those mixed up body parts as well? You know, how do you know who has mixed up body parts, and how do you know who is just mentally unstable, or how do you know who is just sexually attracted? You know, you got these different categories of people here. So where do you place these people? Do you place them all in hell or in heaven, or do you place some of them in hell and some of them in heaven? If you believe there's a heaven, that's
I
the
don't.
question of the show. Anyway, the question of the show is, if you believe there's a heaven, do you believe the gay couples will go there? So if these people are a person of a mixed up gender, do you believe they're gonna go to heaven even though they sleeping with somebody of the same sex? Or is that this person with the mental? Let's wrap this thing up. There's a person with a mental issue. Do you believe they're gonna go to heaven, or are we going? You know, are they going to hell because they got a mental problem? Or then you got the other people over there that's just doing it for the fun of it. So I mean, you got three sets of people, maybe more than three sets, but I'm just gonna narrow it down to three sets of people. Okay, where are these three sets of people going, Dr. Rowling? Come back to you.
I people who know what's born anatomically. A male should not live, marry, sleep with, and same with women. God and heterosexual situation, but you're describing half woman and organs of a man or something. You know, I cannot comment on that. That people, that's between them and God. I'm not judge. I'm just telling you that if they are homosexual, I think the Bible is clear on the fact that that's a problem. With Sodom suggested a case history of how God judged them, and ultimately, I think He's trying to save as many people as He can. But He to flaunt nature, we can do what we want. I don't think so.
Okay, okay, I think I got you. So there's no rule, regulation, place to be, according to Dr. Ruling now, okay? According to Dr. Ruling and according to his teaching and his belief, not according to the rest of the world. But there's no stipulation for the person that has the mixed up gender problem. So we don't know where that person gonna go. And then, but the person that's out there doing what they want to do, how they want to do it, any kind of way, being a homosexual, blah, 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 that person willfully, blah, blah, blah. What I'm understanding is that person is the one that the creator, God, is going to frown on, but not necessarily the person that has the mixed up gender, or maybe even not necessarily the person with a mental issue. I'm gonna go over here to Joe. And Joe, you chime in on that, and then that's my last question. And so after this, we want to introduce to the rest of the viewers Dr. Ruling's book, and bring that to the forefront, and then we're out of here. Go ahead, Joe.
Cool. I'll keep it really brief so we have plenty of time for Dr. Ruling's book. So just really quickly, a hermaphrodite refers to a person with both sets of what we understand traditionally to be male and female genitals. But there are more intersex people, which you pointed out to, Ms. Wiley, which I'm very impressed about, because a lot of people don't know this. You know, there are people, not just hermaphrodites, but people from a wide range of anatomical difference from what we would normally understand as male or female. Now, is it a defect? Are their body parts mixed up? That implies that there is a design, and that just does not fit reality. The very uncomfortable thing, and sometimes especially we men have to take this truth kind of hard, because we like to think of manliness as being an essential part of our character and our nature, myself included. It's the thing we do because we're egomaniacal people. The parts of the female sexual anatomy and the male sexual anatomy are the same parts. We think of them as different because most of the time we see them, they look different. But in reality, they're made of the same stuff. And the male hormones and female hormones, like you were talking about, Miss Weiliner, before, exist in both male and females, and they exist in intersex people. It turns out that the line between what makes male and what makes female just isn't so easily defined as what we thought it was back in the days of goat herds wandering around in Mesopotamia, writing books about what God wants us to do with our body parts when we're naked. The fact of the matter is, we now have science to better understand what gender is and how we treat it. And the fact of the matter is, gender as a scientific norm is not so easy to define. It actually is, for the most part, a social construct. It has to do with the way we treat people. And so I'm just going to end with this example. And if you cut me off and don't talk to me for the rest, I'll completely understand. But we're talking about that earlier, about that example about, you have a daughter, you take her in, turns out she has internal organs that look like male organs, function like male organs. Health-wise, she can't have babies. She can't have all the same experiences of motherhood and so forth that another woman can. So do you start to treat her like a man? Do you start calling her your son? Do you change her name? How do you treat that person? I think it's a question that we can't say that. Let's leave that up to God. Unfortunately, where the rubber meets the road, you got to make a decision. In that case, I think intelligent, moral people decide it's going to depend on how she feels. Well, that changes the whole game. If a person feels, if we can say, well, if she identifies as female, if she says, I feel like a girl, I look like a girl, I want to live like a girl, and I don't want to have to answer to anybody else for that except to myself, generally we're going to respect that. That is because at some level, even believers have to admit, gender is something that you express rather than just something that you're quote unquote born with. Thank you, Miss Weiliner. If I don't get a chance to talk to you again on the air, I appreciate being on your show and that you open it up to be the lion's den by letting this lion in.
Okay, Joe, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so listen now, but before we go, thank you for that, Joe. And but we're gonna go to Dr. Ruling. You have a brand new book. We're getting ready to close this thing out. Okay, we went over a little bit over today. Dr. Ruling has a brand new book, and his book has been newly released, and it's titled "The Destruction of Jerusalem: A Sign for U.S. or a Sign for Us." I don't know what that really means, and so Dr. Ruling, I'd like to give you a couple of minutes to explain, and hopefully we will be able to get the gist of what you're saying. Joe said that he took some time out to actually read some of your book, and he may have even had some questions about it, but he took some time out to read some of your book. And from an atheist point of view, I thought that was very good that he took time out to read it and see, you might school him a little bit, Dr. Ruling. So, Dr. Ruling, can you tell us a little bit about your book, please?
Yes, and first, I really appreciate Joe. He's quite well-read, he's intelligent, and he takes a non-judgmental view for the most part, which I think we as Christians, giving judgment to God, but living our own. My book is titled "The Destruction of Jerusalem" because I think it's the first sign of end times. It's the first sign in Matthew 24 when Christ was asked about the destruction of the temple. Coincidentally, people wanted to know, what's the sign of the end of the world at it, I think. And I believe it, because twice in history, Jerusalem was destroyed the day of the 5th Jewish month, which is like August 22. And could be big stuff. Let's wait and see. And if so, I'll try to get some better connection for audio so that you can hear me better. But the book is on Amazon. And if people want to type in my name, last name Ruhling, Ruhling, they for Kindle copy for 99 cents, which is cheap. And write a review if you like. But I thank you for your magnanimous talk.
Okay, Dr. Ruling, we appreciate you being on the show today. It has been a very difficult time, and it's been very hard to really understand much of anything that you've had to say, but you know, it is what it is. But thank you once again for being on the show. I greatly appreciate it. And Joe, we're not going to get into any question and answer on that. We're just going to move forward and get up out of here because I don't want to wear out the patience of my viewers. And I was going to go into questions and comments about the book. I mean, I don't, you know, I know, Joe, you probably did have something that you wanted to ask him about his book. I guess I could let you ask it, and hopefully he can give you a quick answer, like really, really quick. Hopefully it can come across quickly. So, Joe, if you got one question about his book, what would that one question be?
One question. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm. Oh, yeah, I am muting myself. Yeah, here I am. Okay,
yes,
so
I hear you.
Let me bear it down to one question, because we talked about a lot of it already in this conversation. Oh, okay. Let's bring it down to this. Okay, so in his book, Dr. Ruling points out that the Iran nuclear deal is one sign of the times that the time of the destruction of Jerusalem and conceivably the second coming is at hand. And he points to the Passover occurring during a blood moon in 2015, and that the 2015 solar eclipse is a sign of this. It all seems like, and the sun being in the Virgo constellation, that there are a lot of signs that he's suggesting that there is an end times now officially, after all the end times predictions that have been for thousands of years. Now it's official. My question is, how long is the time frame? How long should we wait before we say, okay, all the signs came and then it didn't happen? Is it 10 years? Is it 100 years? Is it 1,000 years before we say, and the thing didn't happen, we're pretty much safe that this is never going to happen? That's my question.
Okay, Dr. Ruley.
Those signs in 2015, I believe, were like the Roman general Cestius, who came 3 years before Titus. Titus destroyed Jerusalem, and I think we will see that next month. If so, we will be time zone of 7 years, like Joseph's 7 years of famine in Egypt and Nebuchadnezzar 8 years. I believe there's an end time. Many Bible scholars see 7 years for the end time, like the 7 trumpets in Revelation. So I think, you know, if 10 years from now we're still around, hey, I'll admit next year, if nothing happens of a big nature, if there's no Jerusalem destruction and no earthquake next year, I don't know what I'm talking about to study.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody. It's over. It's over. And I just want to thank everybody for your patience and sticking with us for this extra extended show today. We greatly appreciate your time. And I appreciate my guests, both of my guests, Dr. Richard Ruling, and his book is available. You can go on my website, WilenaTVShow.com, and click that link and it'll take you to, or you can look him up, Dr. Richard Ruling. He's very easy to find. Okay. And then also my guest, Joe Rawlings. Joe, you are the bomb. You've been on my show more than once. Dr. Ruling has as well. So thank you both for being a guest on the show today and last week. I greatly appreciate you guys chiming in on this particular topic. Okay, you don't want to miss next week's show. Okay, I will have two great guests next week. Brother Ronaldo Wade will be back, and I believe this new gentleman is a pastor, Pastor Clifton Pettyjohn, Pastor Clifton Pettyjohn, next week. And we will have a two-part show, possibly three parts, of this huge discussion going. And the topic is false prophets and pulpit pimps. The church robbery of the tithes. What are tithes really? And can a man rob God? You don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss these shows coming up. I'm telling you right now, y'all don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. Okay? They will be off the chain. All right? And so, once again, like I said, thank you very much to Joe Rollins and Dr. Richard Rulin for being a guest on the show today and last week. Well, y'all know what I always say. Study for yourself. You owe it to you to study for yourself. Don't wait for the person up front to tell you everything you think you need to know. Get in those books, get on the internet, get the Bible, get up, do whatever you got to do, but study for yourself. Y'all know who I am. I'm Juanita, the Las Vegas Queen of Gospel. And y'all know what show this is. This is the Juanita Show, and this is where the rubber meets the road. And I'll see you next week.